Sugatan ang 21 katao sa pagsabog ng La Salina Oil Terminal sa Venezuela.
Ano ba ang naging sanhi ng pagsabog sa nasabing lugar at may nakaligtas naman kaya sa mga kataong naroroon? Aalamin natin yan mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Alagao Flores, ito ang mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong Miyerkules ng gabi.
Dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte pinahaharap sa Senado hinggil sa issue ng war on drugs.
Mga 143 overseas Filipino workers sa United Arab Emirates binigyan ng pardon.
Chinese President Xi Jinping sinabing bukas ang China sa pagiging kasangga at kaibigan ng Estados Unidos.
Lalaki sa Russia nasagip matapos maglayag ng 67 araw sa dagat.
At Kendrick Lamar pinarangalan bilang Hip Hop Artist of the Year sa 2024 BET Hip Hop Awards. Ipapatawag po ng Senado si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte hinggil sa usapin ng war on drugs sa kanyang administrasyon upang linawin umano ang issue ng extrajudicial killings.
Tiwala naman si Senador Ronald de la Rosa na dadalo ang dating Pangulo sa investigasyon ng Senado kahit na nga hindi pa niya ito nakakausap ng personal. Git ni de la Rosa, mas komportable si Duterte na dumalo sa pagdinig sa Senado kaysa sa mababang kapulungan. Paliwanag ng Senador, magsasagawa ng motu proprio investigation ng kanyang komite ukol sa aligasyon ni dating PCSO General Manager Royina Garma kahit naka-break session. Nilinaw nito na hindi layo ng kanilang parallel investigation na kontrahin ang investigasyon ng Quad Committee ng Kamara ukol sa AJK. Tiniyak din ni De La Rosa na wala raw siyang impormasyon sa mga aligasyong nagamit ng Duterte administration ang intelligence fund bilang reward sa mga pulis. Inamin niya na nagbibigay ng pera noon si Duterte sa pamamagitan ni Senador Bongo dahil ito ang dating special assistant to the president. Ngunit git ng Senador, allowance at pamasahe lamang ito ng mga pulis.
Lubos ang pagpapasalamat ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. kay United Arab Emirates President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed matapos bigyan nito ng pardon ang nasa 143 overseas Filipino workers sa UAE. Ayon kay Marcos, nakausap niya sa telepono ang Pangulo ng UAE kung kailan ay tinalakay din nila ang mayaman na relasyon ng Pilipinas at UAE. Higit pa rito ay nagpasalamat din ng Pangulo sa ibinigay na tulong ng gobyerno ng UAE sa mga naging biktima ng dumaang mga bagyo sa Pilipinas. Pinasalamatan din ni Senador Jinggoy Estrada at Senador Joel Villanueva ang Pangulo ng UAE sa kanyang naging desisyong bigyan ng pardon ang mga Pinoy doon. Nanawagan naman si Senador Villanueva na mas palawakin pa ang Government Legal Assistance Fund para sa mga OFWs. Dati na naghain si Villanueva ng Senate Bill 1448 sa layong palawigin pa ang coverage ng Legal Assistance Fund para sa mga Pilipinong nasa abroad.
Naglaan ang mababang kapulungan ng Kongreso ng higit kumulang 39.8 billion pesos para sa mga minimum wage earners sa ilalim ng ayuda para sa Kapos ang Kita Program o AKAP. Nakapaloob ang nasabing halaga sa 2025 national budget. Sinabi ni House Appropriations Panel Chairman Zaldi Co, ang naturang halaga ay mas mataas ng 3 beses kumpara sa kasalukuyang pondo ngayong taon na nasa 13 billion pesos lamang. Sa ilalim ng AKAP program, makatatanggap ng tulong pinansyal mula sa gobyerno ng Pilipinas ang mga manggagawa na may sahod na 21,000 pesos kada buwan. Pumayag din ang komite na taasan ng pondo para sa AKAP bilang tugon na rin sa mga panawagan ng mga minimum wage earners.
Inihayag ng Philippine Postal Corporation o PhilPost na muli itong tatanggap ng aplikasyon para sa postal IDs. Ayon sa PhilPost, kailangan personal na mag-apply sa ilang mga branch ng mga post office sa bansa ang mga interesadong aplikante. Tinukoy ng PhilPost na ang mga first time na kukuha ng ID ay dapat magdala ng original at isang photocopy ng mga sumusunod na dokumento. Isang patunay ng pagkakakilanlan, ilan po sa mga ito ay birth certificate galing sa Philippine Statistics Authority o Local Civil Registry, GSIS, SSS, UMID card, driver's license o pasaporte. At isang patunay ng address katulad ng barangay clearance certified true copy ng pag-upa, certified true copy ng titulo, certified true copy ng resibo ng buwis sa real estate, bank statement, credit card statement, school billing statement o kaya utility bill. Para naman sa mga gustong mag-renew, ang mga aplikante ay dapat di magdala ng original at photocopy ng kanilang expired postal ID, anumang patunay ng pagkakakinanlan at address. Dapat di magdala ng mga may asawa ang kanilang marriage certificate ayon yan sa PhilPost. May kaukulang bayad na 550 pesos ang aplikasyon sa naturang serbisyo. Dating sinuspinde ng PhilPost ang aplikasyon ng Postal ID noong March 10, 2023 dahil naman sa technical issues.
Inisyu ng Department of Agriculture ang Memorandum Order No. 45 kung saan ay tinanggal na nito ang pagbabawal sa pag-aangkat ng mga buhay na baka at produktong karne mula sa United Kingdom. Ang pag-lift ng import ban ay ginawa ng ahensya matapos ilabas ng United Kingdom ang opisyal nitong ulat na nagsasabing naresolba na nito ang mad cow disease sa kanilang bansa. Anila, wala na ring mad cow disease outbreak sa United Kingdom simula pa noong August 7, 2024. Sinabi ng DA na nagbigay din ng ebidensya ang mga otoridad mula sa United Kingdom upang ipakita na may ginawa silang safety measures para sa kanilang mga pagkain doon.
Inanunsyo ng Department of Environment and Natural Resources o DENR na muling magpupulong ang Board of Loss and Damage Fund sa Manila sa Disyembre. Ipinaliwanag ni Environment Secretary Maria Antonia Lulo Loizaga na kasalukuyang tinatapos na ng ahensya ang kasunduan sa United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change kaugnay na hosting ng Pilipinas sa nasabing pagpupulong. Kapag naisapinal na ito, formal na magiging host ang Pilipinas ng nasabing board meeting. Isa sa mga prioridad na tatalakayin sa pagpupulong ay ang paghahanap ng karagdagang mapagkukunan ng pondo bukod pa sa mga kontribusyon mula sa mga kasaling bansa. Kasalukuyang nasa $700 million na po ang naipangako ng mga developed countries para sa Loss and Damage Fund na makatutulong naman sa mga damages ng climate change sa developing countries.
Inilunsad ng Pilipinas at ng Estados Unidos ang taunang kamandag exercises sa Hilaga at kanlurang bahagi ng bansa nitong Martes. Ang kamandag exercises ay nilahukan ng mga sundalo mula sa Philippine at US Marines kasamang ilang mga tropa mula sa Australia, United Kingdom, Japan at South Korea. Nakapokus ang pagsasanay sa live fire exercises sa mga baybayin habang ang iba pang aktibidad tulad ng amphibious landing at chemical warfare training ay gagawin sa maliliit na isla ng Pilipinas sa pagitan ng Luzon at Taiwan. Ang event na ito ay kasunod ng malakihang war games ng China sa paligid ng isla ng Taiwan na itinuturing ng Beijing bilang bahagi ng kanilang teritoryo. Gayunpaman, binigyan diin ni Philippine Marine Corps Commandant Major General Arturo Rojas na ang 10 araw na kamandag exercises ay matagal nang binalak at walang kinalaman sa mga kasalukuyang kaganapan sa rehiyon. Susunod, China hindi magdadalawang isip na gumamit ng puwersa laban sa Taiwan.
Russia muling naglunsad na malaking drone at missile attack sa Ukraine.
At Elon Musk nagbigay ng $75 million para sa kampanya ni Donald Trump. Yan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
This portion is brought to you by 318 Automart.
Why choose Supreme Pure Organic Barley? It is 100% pure organic barley straight from Australia. Certified super brands. The first alkaline-based barley in the Philippines. High pH level, 7.9 alkaline level, 68 micronutrients, non-acidic. It helps boost immune system, improves digestion, high in antioxidants, regulates blood sugar level and cholesterol. Waglan Basta Barley. Dapat alkaline-based Supreme Pure Organic Barley.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Mailalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa new era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Inanunsyo ng South Korea, Japan at Estados Unidos ang paglulunsad ng bagong multinational team upang subaybayan ang pagpapatupad ng mga sanctions laban sa North Korea ngayong Miyerkules. Ang tinatawag na Multilateral Sanctions Monitoring Team ay ipinakilala sa isang joint press conference sa Seoul na pinangunahan ni U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell, South Korean Vice Foreign Minister Kim Hong-kyun at Japanese Vice Foreign Minister Masataka Okano. Ito ay inilunsad matapos tanggihan ng Russia ang pag-renew sa isang United Nations panel na nagbabantay sa mga sanctions na pumipigil sa nuclear programs ng North Korea. Ang bagong monitoring team ay siyang magpapatuloy ng trabaho ng UN panel kabilang ang pagbibigay ng mga regular na ulat ukol sa pagpapatupad ng mga sanctions laban sa Pyongyang. Kabilang sa team na ito ang 8 iba pang bansa tulad ng United Kingdom, France at Germany.
Iniulat ng China na hindi ito kailanman makakapangakong hindi gagamit ang puwersa para mabawi ang isla ng Taiwan. Ito po ang naging pahayag ng tagapagsalita ng Chinese-Taiwan Affairs Office na si Chen Binhua sa isang press briefing na ginanap sa Beijing. Binigyan din niyang patuloy na nagsusumikap ang China para sa posibilidad ng isang mapayapang reunification. Subalit, hindi sila magdadalawang isip na gumamit ng puwersa kung kinakailangan.
我们愿以最大诚意、尽最大努力争取和平统一的前景，但绝不承诺放弃使用武力。这针对的是外部势力干涉和极少数台独分裂分子及其分裂活动，绝非针对广大台湾同胞。
Ayon kay Chinese President Xi Jinping, isang malaking oportunidad para sa Estados Unidos at China na siguruhin ang isang maunlad na pakikipag-ugnayan. Sa isang sulat na isinulat ni Xi, sinabi niyang bukas ang China sa pagiging kasangga at kaibigan ng US dahil sa tingin niyang ikabubuti nito, hindi lang ng dalawang bansa kundi ng buong mundo. Dagdag pa nito na China has always handled China-US relations in accordance with the principles of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation, and has always believed that the success of China and the United States is an opportunity for each other. Inihayag ni Xi na ang bilateral relationship nila ng Estados Unidos ay isa sa pinakaimportanteng relasyon kung saan nakasalalay ang kinabukasan ng mundo. Sa ngayon ay madalas magkatunggali ang magkabilang kampo dahil sa kalakaran, seguridad at sa posisyon ng China sa naturang issue sa Taiwan.
Mahigit 136 na drones at 3 missiles ang pinilipad ng Russia para tamaan ang 14 na rehiyon sa Ukraine. Nagkaroon ng malaking sunog sa rehiyon ng Ternopil, subalit mabilis na naapula ito ng mga bumbero gamit ang kanilang mga special equipment. Ayon sa Ukrainian Air Force, nawasak ng air defense nila ang 51 sa mga drones. Wala pang naiulat na nasawi sa mga pag-atake at hindi pa malinaw ang pinsalang na idulot nito sa mga pasilidad.
Tiniyak ni Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu kay US President Joe Biden na kanilang iiwasan na tamaan ng mga oil at nuclear sites ng Lebanon at Iran. Kasunod ito sa pagkabahala ng US na sa ginagawang military operations ng Israel sa Iran at Lebanon ay tatamaan ang nuclear at oil sites na magdudulot ng malaking pinsala. Umaasa naman ang US na maisa sa katuparan nito ng Israel para hindi na tumaas pa ang tensyon sa gitnang silangan. Magugunitang noong nakaraang linggo ay tinawagan ni Biden si Netanyahu at sinabing marapat na iwasan na tamaan ng oil at nuclear sites ng Iran at Lebanon.
Binigyan diin ni Austrian Foreign Minister Alexander Schallenberg na walang intensyon ang European Union na umatras sa kanilang kontribusyon sa UNIFIL sa Lebanon sa kabila ng panawagan ng Israel. Nagsimula na ang ground operations ng Israel laban sa Hezbollah, subalit ilang United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon o UNIFIL positions ang nasa Lebanon. 5 peacekeepers na ang sugatan matapos sa mga insidente kung kaya't nanawagan si Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu na umatras na ang UNIFIL mula sa war zones. Gayunpaman, binigyan din ni Minister Schallenberg na mananatili ang kanilang tropa sa Lebanon. At sinabing dapat na lamang tiyakin ng Israel ang kaligtasan ng mga peacekeepers doon. Nagbabala ang pamahalaan ng Japan laban sa escalation sa Korean Peninsula. Ito ay matapos pasabugin ng Pyongyang ang mga daan at riles na nag-uugnay sa North Korea at South Korea. Sinabi ni Deputy Chief Cabinet Secretary Kazuhiko Aoki na ang mga aktibidad ng North Korea ay maaaring magdagdag na tensyon sa Korean Peninsula kung kaya't mahalagaan niya na hindi ito humantong sa isang escalation doon. Dagdag pa ni Aoki na gagawin ng Japan ang lahat upang mangolekta, pag-aralan at bantayan ang impormasyon sa mga nangyayari sa North Korea. Samantala, kinundena ni South Korean Vice Foreign Minister Kim Yong-kyun ang mga aksyon ng North Korea, partikular na ang pagpapasabog ng mga daan at riles sa Korean Peninsula. Kaugnay nito ay siniportahan ni Japanese Vice Foreign Minister Masataka Okano ang mga pahayag ni Kim Matauki. Kinumpirma rin nito na nakababahala umano ang military alliance ng North Korea at Russia.
이번에 계속되는 핵 미사일 위협과 남북 육로의 완전한 단절 및 소위 남쪽 국경 봉쇄, 무인기 침투 주장 등 의도적 긴장 조성 행위를 강력히 규탄했습니다.
ロシア、北朝鮮の間の軍事協力の進展に対する重大な懸念が継続していることを確認しました。また最近の北朝鮮の動向について率直な意見交換を行い、3カ国で連携して対応することで一致しました。
Ayon sa U.S. State Department, sumulat sina State Secretary Antony Blinken at Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin sa Israel. Ito anyay upang linawin ang pag-aalala ng Washington ukol sa antas ng humanitarian assistance na papasok sa Gaza. Si Mefanway Zaragoza para sa balita.
Sa kanyang regular briefings, sinabi ni State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller na naniniwala ang Estados Unidos na posibleng makapagpapasok ng humanitarian aid sa Gaza at kayang mapagtagumpayan ang mga bureaucratic at logistical na mga hadlang. Inusig ni Miller ang antas ng proteksyong ibinibigay ng Israel sa mga sibilyan. Binanggit nito ang isang karumaldumal na insidente na naganap kamakailan. Sa kabila ng pagkilala nito sa mapanubok na kapaligiran ng Israel, binigyan diin ni Miller ang nakababahalang mga kaganapan sa Gaza nitong mga huling araw.
The Secretary did write, along with Secretary of Defense Austin, to the Defense Minister of Israel, Yoav Gallant, and the Minister for Strategic Affairs, Ron Dermer, on Sunday to make clear our concerns about the levels of humanitarian assistance that have been making it into Gaza. This was a letter we consider to be a private diplomatic communication that we did not intend to make public from our side, but now that it is public, I am happy to confirm it and speak to it to some extent. I think you have to put this letter in the context of our ongoing and long-lasting communications and concerns about the levels of humanitarian assistance that have made it to Palestinian civilians. If you go back to April, the Secretary wrote at the time to Minister Gallant to make clear that we had seen the levels of humanitarian assistance plateau, and then after they plateaued, start to decline, and made clear that at the time that the levels were unacceptable and that we needed to see Israel implement changes.
Muling idiniin ni Miller ang pagtutol ng US sa pilit na pagpapalikas mula sa Gaza at anumang permanenteng pag-okupa sa teritoryo. Binanggit niya ang napakasamang sitwasyon ngayon sa Hilagang Gaza dahil anya sa operasyon ng militar, siradong mga gate at pagpigil sa pagpasok ng tulong o aid. Mefanway Zaragoza para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Sa kaugnay pong balita, sumulat ng White House sa Israel para humiling na mapabuti na nga ang nangyayaring humanitarian situation sa Gaza. Kaugnay niya, nag-issue na rin ng 30-day ultimatum ang Amerika sa Israel para palakasin ang humanitarian aid access sa Gaza at sakaling mabigo, nagbantang ititigil ang military aid dito. Ginawa ng Biden administration ang naturang warning sa isang sulat na ipinadala sa gobyerno ng Israel na itinuturing na pinakamatinding formal na babalang pinaabot ito sa kanilang kaalyado bansa simula ng sumiklab ang gera sa Gaza. Nilagdaan ni US Secretary of State Antony Blinken at Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin ang naturang sulat noong Martes. Dito inihayag din ng US na labis itong nababahala sa lumalalang humanitarian situation sa nasabing rehiyon. Nakasaad din sa sulat na tinanggihan o pinigilan ng Israel ang halos 90% humanitarian aid na ipinadala sa Gaza noong nakalipas na buwan.
Nagsagawa ng pagpupulong ang United Nations Security Council na nagsara sa usapin ukol sa Yemen. Ito ay 5 araw matapos atakihin ng Iran-aligned Houthi militants ang isang Liberia flag tanker sa Red Sea. Dahil rito, binigyan din ng UN Special Envoy sa Yemen ang panawagan ni Secretary General Antonio Guterres ukol sa agarang ceasefire at regional de-escalation. Si Marjorie Quintos para sa karagdagang detalye.
Ayon sa Special Envoy ni Secretary General Antonio Guterres para sa Yemen na si Hans Grundberg, ang pag-atake sa mga sibilyang namamarko ay hindi katanggap-tanggap. Kailangan anya itong tigilan na.
Pain and sorrow have spread through the region as hopes for progress seem distant. Regrettably, Yemen is part of this escalation and risks being further dragged in. During this period, the safety of United Nations personnel has been increasingly at risk. It has been a particularly difficult year for United Nations personnel in the region. In Yemen, Ansar Allah continues to hold United Nations personnel, civil society workers and staff of diplomatic missions in arbitrary detention. With all this said, I echo the urgent call of the Secretary General. An immediate ceasefire and regional de-escalation is needed to halt this widening conflict.
Mula noong Nobyembre, naglunsad ng mga pag-atake sa barkong tumatawid ng Red Sea ang mga manlalabang Houthi sa Yemen. Ito aniya ay pakikipagkaisa nila sa Palestinians na naiipit sa laban ng Israel at Hamas sa Gaza. Nakapagpalubog na ang Houthis ng 2 barko, nag-angkin ng 1 at pumatay ng 4 na mandaragat. Nag-focus din ang pulong ng Security Council sa pangungulong ng Houthi sa staff ng UN at iba pang international non-governmental organizations. Hanggang ngayon ay hawak ng Houthis ang 13 Yemeni national staff ng iba't ibang ahensya at opisina ng UN at higit sa 50 NGO at civil society staff members na ikinulong nito noong Hunyo. At gayon din ang 4 na staffers ng tanggapan ng UN High Commissioner for Human Rights o ang OHCHR at ng UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization o UNESCO na ayon sa Security Council ay kinulong ng Houthis noong 2021 at 2023. Marjorie Quintos para sa Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Nakahandang salubungin ng Haiti ang bagong contingent ng kapulisan ng Kenya sa mga darating na araw. Ito po ay upang palakasin ang multinational security mission doon. Sean Davila para sa detalye ng balita.
Inanunsyo ni Asian Prime Minister Gary Conille noong Martes ang pagdating ng karagdagang kapulisan mula sa Kenya. Ito ay matapos niyang bisitahin ang mga bansang United Arab Emirates at Kenya noong 1 linggo. Ani Conille, magpapadala ang Kenya ng 600 mga pulis sa mga darating na araw. Ito anya ay dodoble sa kapasidad ng operasyon ng security forces ng Haiti.
Beaucoup plus rapidement que prévu, nous supposons qu'il y a 600 policiers kenyans qui ont renforcé le contingent à capiter la 1000. Nous parlons et le président Ruto a appelé pour assurer que l'autre promesse de contingent arrive tout le plus rapidement possible. Ça a renforcé la capacité de réponse, nous, multiplié par au moins 2-3 dans les prochains jours, ce qui est excessivement important pour nous.
Binigyang diin din ni Conille na magbibigay ang UAE ng armas at bala para sa bansa.
Et un gros groupe nous rencontré, c'est un plus gros fabricant d'armes et de munitions en zone. Nous rencontré avec toute équipe qui est responsable compagnie ça. Ils ont démontré toute une série d'équipements que nous avons mettre à disposition. Et drones, machines blindées, armes automatiques et tant d'autres choses que nous même fabriqué qui sont capables à la disposition de la police et l'armée. Et nous demandé nous pour très rapidement nous faire liste de besoins pour nous avoir un flux régulier de type de matériel parce que c'est des matériels que Haïti pourra besoin sur le long terme.
May 10 bansa ang nakakong sasali sa Kenyan-led Multinational Security Support o MSS. Subalit nasa 430 lamang ang na-deploy mula nang mag-umpisa ang UN-authorized na misyon noong Hunyo. 400 sa mga ito ay mula sa Kenya. Patuloy na inook pa ng armadong gangs ang kabisera ng Haiti na Port-au-Prince. Kamakailan, inatake ito ng mga miyembro ng Grand Reef Gang at sinasabing ito ay ang pinakamalalang pag-atake na ikinamatay ng 115 mga tao. Sean Davila para sa Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Nagbigay si Tesla at SpaceX CEO Elon Musk ng $75 million para sa kampanya ni Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. Nakatuon ang grupo ni Musk at Trump sa voter turnout sa 7 swing states sa United States. Ayon sa political analysts, ang states ng Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania at Wisconsin ang magiging deciding votes kung sino kaya kina Trump at Vice President Kamala Harris ang mananalong presidente ng Estados Unidos sa Nobyembre.
Inaasahang magiging panauhin si Kamala Harris sa podcast show na Joe Rogan Experience bilang bahagi ng kanyang kampanya. Ayon sa YouGov poll ay makatutulong ang podcast para mas makilala siya ng mga lalaking botante sa kanilang bansa. Lumalabas na mayroong 81% ng mga lalaking hindi bababa sa 35 taong gulang ang nanonood ng nasabing podcast. Inaabangan rin ngayon ang mga off-limits na katanungan ni Rogan para kay Kamala na kilala sa pagiging mapili nito sa mga tanong. Also, Rogan generally doesn't seem to want any topic to be off-limits, while Harris's team has seemingly tried to keep the candidate within her comfort zone during media appearances, so it will be interesting to see if they come to terms. Matatandaang noong nakaraang lumabas siya sa Call Her Daddy podcast na sikat naman para sa mga kabataang babae. Nadismaya ang mga manonood nito matapos silang mapansin na naging political propaganda ang interview ni Kamala. Bukod dito ay inulan rin ng kritisismo si Kamala dahil sa pagiging mapili nito sa media interview na pupuntahan. Dagdag pa rito ay binatiko si Trump ang Fox News dahil sa pag-imbita nito sa isang interview kay Kamala. Iginit ni Trump, hindi na dapat pang tanggapin ang anumang interview ng network dahil sa naging desisyon nito. Up next, 21 katao sugatan matapos sumabog ang isang oil terminal sa Venezuela.
Robotic kitchen sa Germany nakakapagluto ng 24 oras.
At hani ng K-pop girl group New Jeans ibinahagi ang kanyang naranasang workplace bullying sa isang National Assembly hearing. Mga detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
This portion is brought to you by Robotic Builders.
Sa kasulukuyang henerasyon, marami na ang nag-viral. Dahil po yan sa kanilang ginagawang pagtulong sa kapwa. Pero mas marami ang tumutulong kahit walang nakakakita. Kaya naman kung ikaw ay may kilala na grupo o individual na may natatanging pagresponde sa lipunan at maging sa kalikasan, mag-text lamang sa 0915-415-1035 o mag-email sa responde@net25.com at magpadala ng mensahe sa ating Facebook page at Net25TV. Baka kayo na ang susunod nating Certified Key Responder.
Let's net together sa Net25. Sa Net25.
May init na issue at malalim na talakayan.
Wala namang scandals, wala namang corruption issue or anything of that magnitude to warrant a change in leadership.
Ang news commentary show na matapang at may paninindigan.
Ito ngayon may Chinese mafia, nakakakuha ng mga authentic na Filipino birth certificate. Well, ako because nga sabi ko, babalance mo lang naman yan eh. So, maging mas stricto lang tayo, siguro taasan natin yung ante.
Ano sa palagay nyo? Monday to Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. Dito lang sa Net25.
Let's net together sa Net25. Sa Net25.
This portion is brought to you by North Luzon Express Terminal.
At muling nagbabalik ang Mata ng Agila International. Sa pagpapatuloy ng mga balita, sugatan ng 21 katao, kabilang ang mga manggagawa, mga residente at bumbero sa pagsabog ng crude storage tank sa La Salina Oil Terminal sa Venezuela. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, naglalaman ang aabot sa 75,000 bariles ng langis ang sumabog sa tangke. Kita sa video ang pagsabog ng oil terminal na sinundan ng pagbulusok ng tore ng apoy. Dinala naman sa pinakamalapit na pagamutan ang mga nasaktan sa insidente. Nagsimula naman ang investigasyon ng mga pulis hinggil sa dahilan ng pagsabog. Nagiging madalas na ang mga pagsabog sa mga oil production sites sa Venezuela dahil na rin sa pagkasira at pagkaluma ng mga ito.
At isa pong matandang pedestrian ang tumumba mula sa isang sidewalk sa Romania na naging sanhi ng isa pang insidente. Makikita po sa video ang aktwal na pagtumba na matanda patungo sa kalsada. Buti na lamang ay mabilis na nakaiwas ang driver ng sasakyan bago pa masagasaan ang matanda. Subalit, naging sanhi pa ito ng isang car crash matapos tumawid ang kotse sa kabilang lane naman at bumangga sa itim na sasakyan. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, nasa mabuting kalagayan na ang dalawang drivers ng sasakyan at ang matandang tumumba sa daan.
Nasagip ang isang lalaki gamit ang isang inflatable boat matapos itong maglayag ng 67 araw sa Sea of Okhotsk sa Russia. Ayon sa lokal na ulat, namataan ng isang fishing vessel si Mikhail Pichugin na palutang-lutang sa kanyang bangka sa malapit sa baybayin ng Kamchatka Peninsula. Batay sa salaysay ni Pichugin, kasama nitong naglayag ang kanyang kuya at 15 taong pamangkin para manood lamang ng mga balyena sa dagat. Subalit si Pichugin na lamang ang nakaligtas matapos hindi makabalik sa daungan ng bangka dahil sa malakas na alon. Nagsagawa naman ng investigasyon ng prosecutor's office sa lugar para tignan kung may naging paglabag sa safety rules sa naging insidente.
Nasagip ng Russian Emergency Services ang isang 32-year-old Indian mountain climber sa Mount Elbrus sa Russia. Ayon sa ulat ng Russian Services Ministry, nahirapang umakyat ang Indian national sa taas ng 5,200 meters. Tinukoy din ng ahensyang hindi inirehistro ng climber ang kanyang ruta. Kaagad na dinala ang Indian national sa mountaineering camp para sa medical attention. Ang Mount Elbrus ang pinakamataas na bundok sa Europe at kilala bilang destinasyon para sa mga climbers sa buong mundo.
Binili ng Toho Animation ang animation distributor na GKIDS. Ayon sa Toho, magiging subsidiary ang GKIDS ng Toho International kung saan mananatili bilang CEO si founder Eric Beckman at president naman si Dave Jested. Ang acquisition ng Toho sa GKIDS ay bahagi ng plano ng kumpanya na bigyan ng koneksyon ang Japanese at international productions, creators at studios. Gayun din ay mas pinalawig din ng Toho ang kanilang coverage ng kanilang consumer dahil sa established North American entertainment distribution hatid ng GKIDS.
Buwaba ang third quarter sales ng luxury brand na LVMH. Ayon sa ulat ng kumpanya, kumita lamang ang LVMH ng $21 billion. Anila, buwaba ang kanilang benta sa China, bunsod na rin na mataas na presyo at kawalan ng katiyakan sa ekonomiya roon. Hindi pa naglabas sa komento ang LVMH kung ano ang gagawin nilang solusyon upang makabawi sa susunod na quarter sales.
Bilang tulong na rin sa mga staff ng University Hospital ng Tuebingen ay naglagay ito ng isang robotic kitchen na kayang magluto 24 hours o 24/7. Handog ng kumpanyang Good Bits o Good Bites na magluto ng hanggang sa 100 at 20 iba't ibang pagkain sa loob lamang ng ilang minuto. Kanilang naluto ang German classics na Kienitsberger, Klops, Lentil Spätzle, Cheese Spätzle at Chicken Fricasse. Ayon sa kumpanya, kumikilos ang isang robotic arm para ipaghanda ang mga customer ng mga in-order nilang mga pagkain. Pero gate ng Good Bites, kahit may robot na naghahanda ng mga order, ay kailangan pa rin ito ng tulong ng mga empleyado, lalo na sa pag-refill ng sangkap sa mga lulutuin. Suspendido ng 1 taon si Pinoy boxer John Riel Casimero ng Japan Boxing Commission o JBC. Ipinatawag nasabing parusa sa dating 3-division champion matapos na bigong makamit nito ang tamang timbang sa laban niya kay Sol Sanchez. Sa nasabing laban ay mayroon namang limit na 122 pounds para sa super bantamweight, subalit lagpas ng 1 kilo ang timbang ni Casimero. Bilang proseso ay binigyan ito ng 2 oras para mawala ang nasabing labis sa timbang, ngunit walang nabago. Sinabi ni Tsuyoshi Yasukochi, ang JBC official, na base sa kanilang ruling ay pagbabawalang makalaban si Casimero o makalaban si Casimero sa Japan ng 1 taon. Magugunitang sa nasabing laban ay pinasabak o pinabagsak ng Pinoy boxer si Sanchez sa loob lamang ng 1 round. Mayroong record si Casimero na 34 na panalo, 4 na talo at 1 draw na mayroong 23 knockouts.
Ikinagulat na marami na may talent din pala si Prince William sa paglalaro ng football. Dumalaw ang prinsipe sa isang NFL Foundation event sa Kennington Park, London. Nakipaglaro siya ng football sa mga manlalaro roon at nakipag-usap kung paano makatutulong ang sports na football sa pag-develop ng confidence sa mga kabataan ng United Kingdom.
Dumalo ang miyembro ng New Jeans na si Hani sa pagdinig ng National Assembly para sa usapin ng workplace bullying. Ibinahagi ni Hani sa pagdinig ang kanyang hindi magandang karanasan bilang isa sa mga bata at bagong artist sa industriya ng K-pop. Dagdag pa niya ay dapat tratuhin ng nararapat ng kumpanya at ng mga staff nito ang bawat artist.
세상의 모든 문제들을 해결해 줄 수 있는 법은 아니라는 걸 알지만 그래도 빈썸을 인간으로서 존경하면 적어도 직장 내 괴롭힘과 따돌림 문제들은 없지 않을까 싶고요.
정도 돼 있는 것 같은데요.
Kasunod ito ng matagal ng panawagan sa mga kumpanya na protektahan ang kanilang mga artists laban sa harassment at bullying sa trabaho. Matatandaan naman na nagkaroon ng issue ang kanilang grupo mula sa pagitan ng Hybe label at dating CEO ng Adore na si Min Hee-jin. Inakusahan ni Min Hee-jin na sinasabotahe at hindi suportado ng Hybe ang mga proyekto at aktibidad ng grupo. Samantala, binubuo naman ang grupo ng New Jeans ng mga miyembro na sina Minji, Hani, Danielle, Herin at Hain.
Inaabangan ngayon ang paglabas ng K9 best friend ni Superman para sa pelikulang Superman, His Not So Good Boy. Ayon sa direktor ng pelikula ay pagbibidahan ni James Gunn at ni Crypto the Superdog ang nasabing pelikula. Anya, ang karakter ni Crypto ay mula sa kanyang aso na si Ozu na kanyang inampon habang sinusulat niya ang Superman. Matatanda ang ilang beses nang lumabas sa mga animated DC films si Crypto at ang pelikula na ang kauna-unahang beses na lalabas ito sa live action. Bida sa 1955 DC Comics sa Superboy ang aso na kulay puti, may suot na gitong collar at pulang kapa na nahahawig sa suot pa ni Superman. Dagdag pa rito ay nagtataglay din ito ng pambirang lakas at katalinuhang kanyang ginagamit para iligtas ang mga tao. Samantala, taong 2022 naman nang bigyang boses ni Dwayne Johnson ng aso para sa DC League of Super Pets.
Matagumpay na naiuwi ni Kendrick Lamar at ng ilang artists ang iba't ibang pagkilala sa 2024 Bet Hip Hop Awards. Kumakot si Lamar ng nasa 8 awards mula sa kategorya ng Hip Hop Artist of the Year, Song of the Year at Best Collaboration. Dagdag pa rito ang Lyricist of the Year, Video Director of the Year at Impact Track na Not Like Us. Hindi rin nagpahuli si Nicki Minaj nang makuha niya ang Hip Hop Album of the Year para sa Pink Friday the 2nd or Pink Friday 2. Samantala, umani naman ang pagbati online si Lamar mula sa kanyang mga fans na natuwa sa tagumpay at award na kanyang natanggap. Sunod, mga batang inilikas, nakahanap ng panandali ang ginhawa sa Mount Lebanon.
Las Vegas Fear nakatakdang magkaroon ng ikalawang bersyon sa UAE.
At abangan ang iba pang mga storya pagdating ni Alma Angeles at ng Mata ng Agila World News. Pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International, iba pa pong mga balita.
Sa kada umaga, welcome ang lahat. Mula sa mga veteranong komedyante.
Ay, nandiyan ka pala eh! Ano ka ba?
Ano kakain mo, Jomay? Mula nang dumating ka 342.
Pag may muta, direkta na. Hindi ko na aalis yung ganon.
Trending social media celebrity.
Maayong umaga sa inyong tanan.
At mga kilalang public servants.
Everybody needs to abide with the traffic rules and regulations.
Ang purpose doon, gusto ko, pag masaya yung tao, yun ang kaligayahan ko basta masaya. So kung napasaya ko yung isang tao, masaya na ako.
Come on, come all! Sa pinakamasayang kabanding tuwing umaga, kada umaga!
Let's get together, Sunday 25. Sunday 25.
Pilipinas, isang bansang arkipelago na nahahati sa tatlong pangunahing pulo, Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Binubuo ng 7,641 islands na napaliligiran ng mga anyong tubig. Kinikilala sa likas nitong ganda, kamanghamanghang kultura at kaaya-ayang turismo. Nakahanda ng sumayad ang aming gulong, umaraw man o umulan, baon namin ng iisang layunin na makapaghatid ng bagong kwento habang nakasampa sa aming motorsiklo. Isasama namin kayo tuwing Sabado, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. This is Motorcycle Republic.
Let's get together, Sunday 25. Sunday 25.
Sa Chuf, Lebanon, matatagpuan ang isang shelter kung saan pansamantalang nakapamumuhay ng normal ang mga batang lumikas dahil sa digmaan. Doon makikitang gumuguhit ang mga ito, naglalaro at ngumingiti. Alamin natin ang mga detalye mula kay Emmy Kapili Taroha.
Para sa maraming pamilyang na-displace, ang shelter na ito sa Mount Lebanon ay higit sa bubong lamang sa kanilang mga ulo. Ito ay lugar kung saan nakakaramdam sila ng kahit papaano'y kaunting seguridad, lalo na para sa mga batang dumaan sa dahas ng digmaan.
كان كل همنا الوحيد هو انه بس الاولاد يكونوا بمحل انه هن قادرين ينفسوا هذا الطاقه اللي عندهم
بالرغم انه هن كانوا عم يتعرضوا لكتير ضغوطات ولكتير اصوات هن مش لازم كانوا يسمعوها ويخافوا.
Ayon kay Jennifer Moorhead ng Save the Children sa Lebanon, masama pa rin ang kalagayan ng bansa. Aniya dahil dito lalong nahihirapan ang hirap ng sistema ng bayan. Sa kasalukuyan, punong-puno na ang shelter sa dami ng lumilikas.
There are families everywhere living under every overpass and with their piles of belongings around them and their kids with them. It's just a dramatic scene in Lebanon, across the country and in Beirut in particular. So really all the efforts are trying to find and support the safe places for these families to go. The shelters are at capacity already. It's a very dire situation for kids right now.
Sa kasalukuyan din, may 2,350 na mga tao na ang namatay sa Lebanon at higit sa 1.2 million na ang lumikas dahil sa pag-atake ng Israel. Ang karamihan sa mga nasawi ay nitong Setyembre lamang nang palawakin ng Israel ang kampanyang militar nito. Hindi pa tiyak kung ilan sa mga namatay ang sibilyan at kung ilan ang mga sundalo. Emi Capilita Roja para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
At nakatakda pong itayo sa Abu Dhabi ang ikalawang Sphere na unang bumida bilang Las Vegas Sphere. Ayon sa Sphere Entertainment Company or Corporation at Abu Dhabi's Department of Culture and Tourism ay wala pang eksaktong petsa para sa konstruksyon ng magiging pagbubukas nito. Sinabi naman ng chairperson ng DCT Abu Dhabi na ang kasunduan ay bahagi ng Tourism Strategy 2030 na magiging daan upang palakasin ang turismo. Dagdag pa rito, ang patuloy na pagpaplano ng dalawa para sa inaasahang annual fees na kailangan bayaran para sa Sphere Entertainment. At kabilang pa rin po dito ang Sphere Experiences, Sphere Brand, patents, intellectual property at maging operational services. Samantala, matatanda ang binuksan ng Las Vegas Sphere noong September 2023 na nagkakahalaga ng higit sa $2 bilyong.
Grabe naman. Alam mo, iniisip ko tuloy, Rikki, magiging mas malaki ba to? Parang exact replica ba siya? O bigger? Kasi syempre, UAE yan. Tourist destination din kasi yan.
Okay na ako, may planetarium na nga tayo dito sa
diba,
Manila.
no? Speaking of our Manila Planetarium, kailan kahuling pumunta doon? Hindi pa ba tinibag yun at papalitan ng mas magandang?
Direk, ayan, kapanahunan ni Direk yun, yung planetarium.
Si Direk na, parang napabalik ko sa pagkakaupo.
Diba? Kasi ano pa ako, grade school pa ako noon eh. Pero
yun
alam ko, teacher na si Direk noon, panahon na yun eh.
Alam ko parang planong pagandahin
pero
ba?
maganda yun na. At least na-experience ko yun nung nag-field trip kami, nung grade school kami.
Tama.
At talaga naman napakaganda. Siyempre, napakaliit pa natin noon. Feeling ko, laki-laki.
Di ba yun nga yung pakiramdam? I'm sure sa Sphere ganito din. Pero sabi nga natin dalawa, di ba? Bago natin puntahan yung mga special na mga international destinations na yan, dito muna tayo sa atin.
Yes, kaya...
At hindi na masamang simulan sa Manila Planetarium.
Manila Planetarium. Sana alam pa ng mga bata yan. Alamin namin ni Nina kung bukas pa yung planetarium.
Alamin ko bukas ng umaga, first thing. Yun. Tingnan natin baka si Miss Alma alam din niya kung updated siya dyan.
Tama. Dahil parating na siya, narito na po si Miss Alma. Pero tandaan na, mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, narito kami ni Nina upang magatid ng balita saan man dako ng mundo. Muli ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Nina Rikki Alagao Flores. Ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga balitang nangyari sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma Angeles para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Thank you, Nina and Rikki. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for Net25 World News. On tonight's headlines. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reportedly assured the U.S. that Israel's strikes will be limited to Iranian military installations, avoiding nuclear and oil facilities. And breaking news from East Asia, China has reiterated its stance on Taiwan, declaring it will never denounce the use of force as an option. NASA and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration have announced that solar activity has reached its peak, a phenomenon that could last through next year. The news starts now. First, to the war in the Middle East, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has reportedly assured the U.S. that Israel's strikes will be limited to Iranian military installations, avoiding nuclear and oil facilities. Why this focus? Now, this comes as a response to Iran's launch of nearly 200 missiles into Israel on October 1st, escalating tensions between the two nations. For 2 weeks, both countries have been trading threats. Israel is finalizing its defenses with U.S. support in the form of additional troops and a third missile defense system. Will this preparation be enough to contain the situation? Well, the Biden administration is urging Israel to show restraint, fearing an oil price hike and wider regional conflict. But will Netanyahu listen? His office just issued a statement saying that while Israel considers U.S. advice, its final decisions will be based on national interests. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, an Israeli airstrike on Wednesday hit the municipal building in Nabatea, a major town in southern Lebanon, killing Mayor Ahmed Khalil and at least 5 others. And this strike occurred despite U.S. concerns about rising death tolls and fears of an all-out war. Israel is engaged in fierce fights with Iran-backed Hezbollah in South Lebanon and Palestinian militants Hamas in Gaza.
Israel's closest ally, the United States, warned it would restrict its military support if Israel doesn't improve aid to Gaza in 30 days. It is the strongest such warning since Israel's war with Hamas began a year ago. Previously, the U.S. wrote to Israel in April to demand more aid to the war-torn Strip.
The Secretary did write, along with Secretary of Defense Austin, to the Defense Minister of Israel, Yoav Gallant, and the Minister for Strategic Affairs, Ron Dermer, on Sunday to make clear our concerns about the levels of humanitarian assistance that have been making it into Gaza. This was a letter we consider to be a private diplomatic communication that we did not intend to make public from our side, but now that it is public, I am happy to confirm it and speak to it to some extent. I think you have to put this letter in the context of our ongoing and long-lasting communications and concerns about the levels of humanitarian assistance that have made it to Palestinian civilians. If you go back to April, the Secretary wrote at the time to Minister Gallant to make clear that we had seen the levels of humanitarian assistance plateau, and then after they plateaued, start to decline, and made clear that at the time that the levels were unacceptable and that we needed to see Israel implement changes. They did make changes. The changes that they made caused humanitarian assistance to increase. We got up to somewhere between 300 to 400 trucks going in on some days to Gaza. But the thing that the Secretary also made clear at the time is that the increase couldn't be a one-off, that it needed to be sustained. And what we have seen over the past few months is that the level of humanitarian assistance has not been sustained. In fact, it has fallen by over 50% from where it was at its peak. So the Secretary, along with Secretary Austin, thought it was appropriate to make clear to the government of Israel that there are changes that they need to make again to see that the level of assistance making it into Gaza comes back up from the very, very low levels that it is at today.
On Tuesday, State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller outlined a letter State Secretary Antony Blinken and Defense Chief Lloyd Austin wrote to Israeli officials on Sunday. It cited burdensome and excessive restrictions Israel was imposing on commercial imports, goods, and human movement. It says Israel must in 30 days let a minimum of 350 trucks to enter Gaza per day, institute pauses in fighting to allow aid delivery, and revoke evacuation orders to Palestinian civilians when there is no operational need.
We know that it's possible to get humanitarian assistance into Gaza. We know it can be done. We know that the various logistical and bureaucratic obstacles can be surmounted. And so it is incumbent upon the government of Israel to surmount those challenges and get assistance in.
Sunday's letter cited Section 620I of the U.S. Foreign Assistance Act, which prohibits military aid to countries that impede delivery of U.S. humanitarian assistance. and a national security memorandum that gauges the credibility of Israel's assurances its use of U.S. weapons does not violate U.S. or international law. An Israeli official in Washington said the letter had been received and was being reviewed. Separately, Washington also proposed a new channel for the U.S. to raise and discuss civilian harm incidents with Israel, though the administration's criticism of Israel's actions in Gaza was balanced with military support, announcing the same day as the letter that Israel would be sent more U.S. troops and advanced THAAD missile batteries. The State Department also raised concerns with Israel over its bombing campaign in Beirut.
We made those concerns publicly. I'm not going to speak to it in any detail from here, but we have had quite detailed conversations with the government.
Can you elaborate on that nature? Is it the number of high civilian deaths? Is it them seemingly targeting like civilian infrastructure?
It is largely the civilian toll.
Lebanon says Israeli strikes have killed at least 2,350 people over the last year and left nearly 11,000 wounded. The toll does not distinguish between civilians and combatants, but includes hundreds of women and children.
With just 3 weeks until Election Day, political activity is heating up across the country, and we begin this coverage in the U.S. and Georgia, where early voting is in full swing.
I think this is an existential election. It's going to have implications for my children and my 3 grandsons and more to come.
Well, I just started law school actually down in Florida, so I really just wanted to get it out while I was home and get it done. Because being so young, and especially with the recent economic crisis we've had, I really just want to make sure my vote counts.
Lines are stretching outside polling stations as many Georgia voters eagerly cast their ballots early. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump made waves during an interview at the Economic Club of Chicago. When asked about potential communications with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Trump had this to say.
Can you say yes or no whether you have talked to Vladimir Putin since you stopped being president?
Well, I don't comment on that, but I will tell you that if I did, it's a smart thing. If I'm friendly with people, if I have a relationship with people, that's a good thing, not a bad thing, in terms of a country. He's got 2,000 nuclear weapons, and so do we. China has a lot less, but they'll catch us within 5 years.
That sounds
if
very
I have a relationship, I don't talk about that.
Trump also made headlines with his stance on tariffs, taxes placed on imported goods, particularly targeting the auto industry.
If I run this country, if I'm going to be president of this country, I'm going to put a 100, 200, 2,000% tariff. They're not going to sell one car into the United States because we're not going to destroy our country because I know you're an anti-tariff guy, but I'm the exact opposite. If I had, there was no other way I could have stopped them other than, what am I going to do, negotiate with Mexico or China? You're not going to get anything from that. China is the, I would say, probably the toughest, but there are a lot of tough. You know what's very tough? European Union, our beautiful European countries, wonderful, wonderful. If you add them up, they're almost the size of us. They treat us so badly. We have a deficit. I said to Angela Merkel when she was there, she's not there anymore, I wonder why, but when she was there, I said, Angela, how many Chevrolets do we have in Berlin? Why, Donald, you have none. He said, that's right. How many Fords do we have in Frankfurt? I don't know, none. I said, that's right. You know how many cars we have? Mercedes-Benz, BMW, all of the different Volkswagen, millions and millions of cars. And then I said farm products. You know, they don't want our farm. They don't want anything from us. We have deficits that are crazy, and we're not going to have them anymore. We're going to put tariffs on them, but our allies have taken advantage of us more so than our enemies. Our allies are the European Union. We have a trade deficit of $300 billion with the European Union.
Shifting gears to the current administration, Vice President Kamala Harris is focusing her efforts on battleground, a state where both candidates have strong support. Michigan working to boost turnout among African-American voters, especially men. Voters remain skeptical.
Well, one of the reasons I think that it's important to vote for Trump is because I'm dissatisfied with our borders. I believe that those need to be secure. and actually taken care of. Another one of the issues that I think is that this particular economy that we have right now, I don't think this is something that's good. I think Trump can actually get in and get it taken care of.
You have to be careful with recognizing that African American men have the same needs as any other male in voting, making decisions for their family, having wealth for their children, economic issues, cost of food, and so you don't want to offer like a carrot, as a bait for people to vote for you and not really pay attention to what the issues are. And so it could be possibly backfire if the male population feel that they're trying to be convinced beyond policy to vote for her, instead of her really standing on the issues that really present themselves to African American males.
Well, I think the first thing that both campaigns need to recognize about Black male voters in the United States is that they're an increasingly sophisticated group that is seeking to use politics to achieve its goals. Although Black men have supported Democrats, including Biden and Obama in the past at really high rates, it's important to recognize that they're not a monolith, and their support must be earned with policies, rhetoric, and performance that speaks to them. So
Recent polls suggest that the race for the Black male vote could be tightening. A September NAACP, or National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, poll showed that more than a quarter of young Black men say that they would support Trump in the election, a significant shift from 2020 when President Biden secured about 80% of the Black male vote. As the election draws near, both campaigns are intensifying their efforts to secure this crucial demographic. Meanwhile, World Bank President Ajay Banga today emphasized that former President Donald Trump understands the importance of international financial institutions and how their lending can expand markets for U.S. companies abroad. In a Reuters Next newspaper interview, Banga remained optimistic about the potential impact on the World Bank if Trump wins the upcoming presidential election on November 5th.
I think that President Trump was the one who actually authorized a capital increase of the IBRD when he was in the office. And so I think some of this that you just said doesn't quite fit with his actions when he was president at that time. My view of him, having dealt with him for years, is that at the end of the day, he understands the value if you can put it in the terms that make sense for what he's trying to get done for his administration's policies. And let me explain this in a different way. At the end of the day, which other institution do you know that can take $1 of government money and multiply it either 4 times or 10 times? Very few.
Banga emphasized that Trump recognizes how World Bank lending can create new markets for American companies. He also noted that Trump's past support for the institution. Trump had often criticized multilateral institutions, especially their climate change initiatives, and some advocates of the Republican Project 2025 have suggested the U.S. withdraw from the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. However, Trump has distanced himself from the Project 2025 agenda.
And he understands leverage, and he understands the power of leverage in delivering greater value for that dollar. So that's one example. A second example is a lot of what we're doing here also creates markets for American companies and other global companies and intellectual property. After all, if countries develop, it helps us at our home as well. Should we be doing more things in the country? You can see most administrations have now begun to feel that it's important to do the right things in the country as well. But at the end of the day, if by doing the right development overseas, we can help to drive markets for American companies, that's great. If we can help to ensure that European companies benefit, that Indian companies benefit, this is good because it creates the links that you want.
Meanwhile, billionaire Elon Musk made a significant financial contribution to a political group supporting Donald Trump, according to Fed disclosures released today.
there.
Elon Musk gave around $75 million to his pro-Donald Trump super PAC in the span of 3 months, jumping to the top ranks of Republican donors.
I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA.
That's according to federal disclosures Tuesday, which show America PAC, which Musk founded 3 months ago, got through around $72 million of that from July to September. Musk's group focuses on turning out voters in closely contested states that could decide the election. And with the Trump campaign relying mostly on outside groups for canvassing voters, it means the billionaire plays an outsized role in the razor-thin election between Trump and Democrat Kamala Harris. But half a dozen sources tell Reuters the PAC encountered problems with contractors and hiring door knockers.
Vote, vote, vote.
Elon Musk, the world's richest man, took a sharp turn to the right this election. He endorsed Trump in July and appeared with him at a rally in Pennsylvania earlier this month. Musk's donations let him join an exclusive club of Republican megadonors, a list that includes banking heir Timothy Mellon and casino billionaire Miriam Adelson. America PAC declined to comment on the donations, and Musk had not commented as of late Tuesday.
And breaking news from East Asia, China has reiterated its stance on Taiwan, declaring it will never denounce the use of force as an option. And this comes after recent military drills near the island and a symbolic visit by President Xi Jinping to a historic battle site. On Monday, China conducted large-scale exercises around Taiwan, describing them as a warning against separatist acts, following Taiwan President Lai Ching-te's National Day speech last week. A spokesperson for the China's Taiwan office stated that while Beijing prefers peaceful reunification, it reserves the right to use force, particularly against what it calls external forces and Taiwan separatists.
我们愿以最大诚意、尽最大努力争取和平统一的前景，但绝不承诺放弃使用武力。这针对的是外部势力干涉和极少数台独分裂分子及其分裂活动，绝非针对广大台湾同胞。
The statement emphasized that any attempt by Taiwan to assert independence could lead to severe consequences, regardless of its military capabilities or foreign support.
所谓的 punishment 其实不是。
This drill was actually not a so-called punishment. Most importantly, China wanted to show the whole world its ambitions and its political goals. This is why we say that this kind of military action by China is 70% political and 30% military. It is mostly a political exercise. This time there was a rather special component, the so-called quarantine or blockade, during which they practiced their blockading abilities. This is why Taiwan kept its guard up.
所以台湾还是会保持警。
Meanwhile, President Xi visited Dongshan Island facing Taiwan, where China repelled a Taiwanese invasion attempt in 1953. And this visit, focused on rural revitalization and cultural heritage, carries significant symbolic weight given the current tensions. Taiwan's government maintains that only its people can determine the island's future. Taiwan's National Security Bureau claims that China's recent actions have backfired, garnering international support for Taiwan, especially from the U.S. President Lai's recent speech struck a balance between firmness and conciliation, expressing willingness to work with Beijing on global challenges while asserting Taiwan's autonomy.
Taiwan has to first strengthen its defensive capabilities, including all kinds of anti-ship missiles and air defense missiles, which is the priority. In this situation, Beijing will not be confident to use force. In other words, only if we stay pessimistic militarily can we really maintain peace.
As tensions continue to simmer in the Taiwan Strait, the world watches closely and will keep you updated on this developing situation. An earthquake with a magnitude 5.9 struck eastern Turkey's Malatya province today, according to the country's Disaster and Emergency Authority, AFAD. There were no immediate reports of damage or casualties. Reuters footage from the neighboring city of Diyarbakir showed several items inside a house shaking after tremors hit the region. The European Mediterranean Seismological Center said the quake had a 6.1 magnitude and was at a depth of 9 kilometers below the Earth. Singapore's Air Force scrambled 2 fighter jets Tuesday night to intercept an Air India flight bound for the city-state after receiving a bomb threat. The plane was safely escorted to Changi Airport, where authorities conducted thorough security checks. Despite the scare, no suspicious items were found on board. Singapore's authorities are now investigating the origin of the threat, which has prompted heightened security measures for other flights. What happens when a platform designed to connect becomes the source of a major divide? Australia's government is considering a bold move that could dramatically change how its youngest citizens engage with the digital world. But as debate swirls around the proposal, not all voices are being heard.
Australia's federal government announced last month that it plans to ban younger teenagers from using social media in response to concerns about bullying, predatory grooming, and physical and mental health. If successfully rolled out, it would be the world's first age-based ban targeting internet platforms. However, the proposed ban has received backlash from many young Australians, like Kyoko, who says the ban would actually make life harder for them and isolate them further.
Yeah, so being autistic, I have a really hard time connecting with others, and doing that online makes it a lot easier. Being online, you're able to connect with other people with the same interests, get experiences.
Teens like Kyoko represent what experts say is a blind spot in the plan by Australia's government to set an age minimum for social media websites, as an age block would mean cutting off support for teens in minority groups like the neurodivergent community. Surveys show that some 97% of Australian teenagers use social media across an average of 4 platforms. That makes them among the world's most connected young people. 16-year-old Laura Seaton has mixed feelings about the proposed ban.
Like you said before, the communication, people feel like they can be more confident on social media because you're behind a screen. But that also means that bullies can be confident, and that's not a good thing. They can just go, hey, you're ugly, and not feel anything because it's a text. You know what I mean? Yes. Like you can just comment easily and be like, you're not very pretty, are you? You know, stuff like that.
Nearly 2/3 of parents of teenagers in the country reported concerns about their children's social media use, according to a 2024 survey by youth service Reach Out. But Justine Humphrey, a senior lecturer in digital cultures at the University of Sydney, says a ban is not the best way to go.
Young people themselves are not in favor of a ban.
Humphrey says an age-based ban ignores other important factors that determine online experiences for young people.
So even though the age is really fundamentally important that we need to get right, what we're talking about when we say we're going to introduce a ban by age is that it negates the fact that young people have very different levels of maturity depending on their age and their backgrounds, and also whether they occupy that younger or older teenage group.
In September, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said his center-left government would run an age verification trial before introducing the laws by the end of this year. While no lower age limit has been proposed, officials have suggested between 14 and 16.
And the news continues. ZeroNet 25 World News. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
The stars in the world of business joined us for a night of recognition and celebration at the Asia CEO Awards 2024. We're giving you, our beloved viewers, more highlights from this historic event with interviews from industry experts.
We talk about due diligence in a sense that do it right the first time and do it right until the last time.
We believe AI don't replace human talent. AI actually augment human talent.
Sustainability is thinking about how can we build a lasting business that will help contribute to a lasting world.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos, Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sunday 25.
China is nearing completion of its $300 million physics research facility, the Jiangmen Underground Neutrino Observatory, or JUNO, located 700 meters underground in rural Guangdong province. Under construction for 10 years, JUNO will soon be sealed off for the next 30 years to conduct experiments and collect data.
Inside this underground laboratory, China hopes to win a global race to solve one of the biggest mysteries in particle physics. The $300 million Jiangmen Underground Neutrino Observatory, or JUNO, is located 2,300 feet beneath the surface of the southern Guangdong province. It will soon start gathering data on neutrinos, a product of nuclear reactions. Trillions of extremely small neutrinos pass through matter, including the human body, every second. Chao Jun is the deputy manager of JUNO.
One neutrino can change to another neutrino at a flight. So such a special property may have a big impact to the nature, how nature works and how the universe evolves.
JUNO comprises a giant sphere equipped with thousands of light-detecting tubes. In the coming months, it'll be sealed in a 12-story cylindrical pool of water. Chinese physicists and scientists from all over the world will analyze the data on neutrinos emitted by 2 nuclear power plants.
In 6 years, we will get some answer on our primary goal to measure the neutrino mass ordering. And we plan to run this experiment for 30 years.
Neutrino observatories are also being constructed in other nations. JUNO is due to go operational in the latter half of 2025. That's well ahead of the far larger JUNE, under construction in the US, which has been plagued by delays and budget overruns. JUNE, or the Deep Underground Neutrino Experiment, is expected to come online around 2030. As for the real-life neutrino applications, they remain a distant prospect so far. However, some scientists have mulled the possibility of relaying long-distance messages via neutrinos, which pass through solid matter, such as the Earth, at near light speed.
NASA and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration have announced that solar activity has reached its peak, a phenomenon that could last through next year. This solar maximum cycle brings increased electromagnetic eruptions known as solar flares, which could disrupt satellite navigation, radio communication, and power grids. Auroras may also appear in lower latitudes during this period. In May, flare-induced auroras were seen worldwide, with GPS services disrupted across the U.S. The sun may have already been in a maximal phase at that time. And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25 Alma Angeles, thanks for joining us. Good night.